In this chapter, we look at how to separate two different compounds. We do this by playing with solubilities and also with how chemicals react. The two chemicals we have is a benzyl alcohol and a benzoic acid. The benzoic acid is a carboxylic acid, and you can go ahead and deprotonate this carboxylic acid if you introduce it to a base. When you deprotonate it, you will form an ion, which will no longer be nonpolar, but it will act as a polar substance. Right now, both of these molecules are nonpolar, and so they're both dissolved in ether. And we want to separate the benzoic acid from the rest of the material. To start out, we will add sodium hydroxide, and then we're going to get two different layers. And so we're going to break into a branch. On the left side, the ether layer is going to be here, and it's going to have the benzyl alcohol in the ether layer because the benzyl alcohol remains nonpolar. It does not react with the sodium hydroxide. We then have an aqueous layer. Okay, and remember, aqueous means dissolved in water. And so in this aqueous layer, we have our deprotonated carboxylic acid, so we have our carboxylate. And once you get a charge on a molecule, it immediately becomes polar since it has that charge, and so the counter ion is sodium. Now that we've separated the benzyl alcohol from the benzoic acid, we're going to need to get the benzoic acid out of the aqueous layer. And this is done by putting the proton back on, and this is going to turn what it is now a polar molecule into a nonpolar substance, and it will precipitate out. So here we're going to add HCl, or hydrochloric acid. Okay, and when we add the hydrochloric acid, we're going to separate into two layers again. So the benzoic acid is now nonpolar, and so it's going to precipitate out, or it's going to become solid since it's just sitting in an aqueous layer. It cannot dissolve in it. And then we have our aqueous layer. Okay, after this, you would then go ahead and do a filtration process to capture the solid product, and you would be able to measure if it was pure or not.